Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how you can use the built-in Blueprint Light Studio to achieve this sort of effect. So I'm moving the sky here and the light is changing according to the position of the sun and the reflected light as well. So that's a very compelling effect to achieve these, especially these very low light, moody atmospheres. So let's see how we can set that up. Here I am in my blank scene setup here with just the meshes, post-process volume with the ambient occlusion turned to 0 and set to unbound, and a light mask portal just here on the outside on the opening. The light mask settings have already been set to 0.75 and 0.75 here, and the number of lighting bounces are to 12 and compressed lighting unticked. Okay, so what we need to do is bring our starter content into here. If you haven't got it, you can click on here and add feature or content pack. You click on the Content Packs tab, click on Starter Content, and you add to project this way. And it will bring the Starter Content folder, and in here bring a whole lot of things. I've deleted most of it and just kept the blueprint and HDRI so that it doesn't take too much room in the file. Once you've got that, you go into the blueprint folder, and here you've got this blueprint called BP Light Studio. So let's just bring that in, and you can see straight away that there's these massive arrows that we need to scale down. So let's go into the details panel, we go into the previs arrows, and we're going to scale these down to a more usable size. So click back onto the BP Light Studio, and we're just going to move this down a little bit. Okay, so this blueprint is giving us a sky color similar to the atmosphere, but I think it's a lot more realistic, and we can also turn it and use this to control our sun here, and you can see that when I move the sun, the sky changes color as well. So let's go back inside our space here, and I'm going to move the sun so that it shows inside the space. So that's looking fairly nice and bright, but if I go to my lit tab here and go to exposure and go back to my base level here, fix that log 0, you can see that it's indeed very dark. So I've tweaked a few settings in preparation to this, and what I found that worked quite well was the to alter the skylight within the blueprint. So we go to click on skylight here and change that intensity to 10. And then we go back to the BP Light Studio and set the global brightness to 30. So that's going to look a little bit extreme, but if once we build the lighting, it's going to look much better. So let's just double check. We've got our light mask settings, and I'm going to build this straight onto production. Right, so you see that's looking much better, and I can change my direction of my blueprint, and you see that this very, very strong orange color that we had to start with is not staying. It doesn't seem to be baked into the light mass itself, and it's changing with the blueprint. So that's a very, very useful tool for presentation, and I think it's something that it looks very, very good with very minimal work and very minimal setup. So within this blueprint, of course, you can use the HDR, but you will lose this ability of changing the color interactively. The sun, there aren't many settings to change here anyway. The one setting that can be changed is here, the shadow distance, which will enable you to have softer shadow. So when you lower this setting, you can see that the shadow gets a lot softer. We have some self-shadowing problems though here when we get at very low angles. So that's unfortunately difficult to remedy with these settings. So let's go back to the default value, and we see that these shadowing get a little bit further away. But apart from that, it looks pretty good. And we've got the atmosphere color here that I don't change very much, and the fog, I use everything as default. There you go. So that's the use of the blueprint. I hope that's useful.